Welcome back to the Triple O Show. We were just discussing, some of the first year standouts from the 2018 Summer League tournament, and I just want to go over briefly the second year guys that impressed me. And that was one of the big things to me is that when you were watching the games, you can tell the guys that had a year of NBA experience under their belt and the guys that were, fresh off the college dorm life. So, I think hands down the most impressive person had to be Josh Hart. I don't know if you caught any of the
Excellent
games.
season, or excuse me, not season. He had he won Summer League MVP. Am I wrong? The guy is explosive. He kind of fits, what I saw Jordan Clarkson doing a lot of. I think he'll be one of those players LeBron might look to be the most impactful. Other than him, LA summer team, I didn't put too much attention into. Just truth be told. But coming into this year, I think he'll have a much bigger role.
And I think watching him play in the Summer League, it makes a lot more sense now why he was one of the guys along with Ingram that LA was like, we're not putting him in a trade for Kawhi because, he just looks like he's a guy, although he showed a lot of scoring ability in the Summer League, defensively, and he looks like a team player.
Right.
And he should be one of those guys that fits along LeBron well.
Yeah, the Lakers, that's the thing. They're going to give these guys some time to develop, but for guys that are in their second year, I think the bar has just been raised.
Yes.
So it's good to see, at least Summer League is the first indication that he looks pretty ready.
There's some rumblings about him potentially starting at the 2 this coming season over Caldwell Pope. What do you think about that?
I don't know if I'd rush into that. I'd give him the opportunity to play into, the starting rotation.
For sure.
But I don't know. Caldwell Pope is still, to me, an effective three-point shooter and 3-and-D type of guy. I wouldn't kick him to the curb too quickly.
I agree. On the other hand, shot selection, he reminds me of JR.
Yeah, really inconsistent with that. And he fires off completely randomly.
Oh, goodness.
That's the thing. Going into summer camp, I think they're going to experiment. You see a guy like Rondo, Ball, LeBron, all fitting that one slot. Who's going to really be battling for the 2 through 5? Because you have a guy like Kuzma who you would think maybe at this point, let's just put him in the starting lineup. That might not be your best bet. And they'll need some time to figure out what's working.
For sure. One thing we know, LeBron's going to get what he wants. So,
I think he'll be solid on the minute. I'm not really questioning that.
I think for sure. But the Lakers have a lot of possibilities and places they can go. But Josh Hart, playing the way he did in the Summer League just added another good problem to their situation.
Now, what about Kuz? Just like Ingram, it kind of exploded in his second year. Kuzma was showing us very quickly that he can be a completely versatile offensive scorer. What do you think his role? Do you think his role will change at all with LeBron coming in there?
I think so, because with how dynamic of a scorer he's shown to be, I think at the moment your plan has to be to bring him off the bench because him even as we're just going to assume LeBron's going to be slotted in at the 4 right now, and then they'll just build around that. So at Kuzma's size, I don't think you can start him at center in the West.
Okay.
There will be certain teams that you can, but for the most part, you're not going to want Kuzma down there trying to bang with Steven Adams or Marc Gasol. Like we're talking about with Colin, that's just going to take off from your legs, and then offensively you're not as effective as you want to be. So. I think Kuzma has to start. Probably starts the year coming off the bench, and then as the season goes on, maybe. I just don't see how you slot him in there.
Right, and I don't know if he's a guy that's even pushing for that. He may be very comfortable with just leading that second wave, but I'm hoping it doesn't, stump any of his development.
Yeah.
Him and Ingram are certainly on the up and up.
We fully expect him, whether he starts or comes off the bench. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes, regardless. But just from matchup wise, I don't see that happening. Because then the other issue I think too, even with him and LeBron on the court at the same time, depending on who you're playing, I think it looks like LeBron is going to be your small ball center.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. But he's going to have to guard, your Draymonds or somebody like that because Kuzma, physically right now, Kuzma and Ingram just aren't, don't have the bodies to guard the, upper echelon post of the Western Conference. So
yeah, they'll have to rely on, the rat tail of JaVale McGee to really be that intimidating force down low.
Any man that wears a fanny pack over 6'5", saying a lot. But Josh Hart, just another good problem for the Lakers to have. Mm-hmm. So another guy that was impressive, that you could tell was a second-year guy was Malik Monk.
Yeah, Monk had that guy, and we said this before. I think last season wasn't a true indication of who he was as a player.
Yeah,
he was just feeling himself out a little bit. Spark plug. I mean, he is that. I can see him being a kind of a J.R. Smith in his early years, where you bring him off the bench or you throw him into the starting lineup. He can give you 30 each night, or he could give you nothing.
Yeah.
But that's still a guy I might want on my team. In young squad along with Kimba. Maybe they can figure out if he can be a dynamic guy moving forward.
I think so as well. You've got. If I'm Charlotte, he's the guy that I'm investing in because you've got. They've got Miles Bridges, who didn't play particularly well, but then on the bench, I believe you still have Jeremy Lamb. Mm-hmm. You've got like Dwayne Bacon. Mm-hmm. You still got Nicholas Batum. Mm-hmm. But we don't know what quite direction they're going in. But I think he should be one of the guys that they look forward to in the future. As we know this guy can score. He's young. We've got him, under contract for the next couple of years cheaply. Let's start, giving him these minutes and investing in him.
Yeah. He's one of those volume guys. I mean, he needs to get his feet kind of under him each game before he really, I think, opens up. So the more he's on the floor, the better. I'm still not counting out Miles Bridges. I mean, I think he, again, is one of those motor guys who can just fit in for limited stretches and give you, 4 or 5 rebounds a game.
Right. 10 to 14.
Right.
And I think... of course, I think he'll have more upside, and more potential. But I think he can learn a lot from a guy like Marvin Williams.
Yeah.
In that situation, a small ball forward, because especially being in the Eastern Conference, that's more likely, where his position will be in that 3 to 4 range. Mm-hmm. He's definitely at this point a lot more athletic than Marvin Williams is, and but you see how Marvin Williams has changed his game. So I think that's a good guy for him to learn under before he's ready to take over the reins in that
at that position. Yeah, I can see that. Who else did you have as
Jonathan Isaac?
Jonathan Isaac, yeah.
And I was a little skeptical about him. One of the reasons being I'm a huge Xavier Raton-Mays fan. So when Malik Beasley, that was another thing that pained me watching Summer League because the Lakers just had to sign Raton-Mays to their Summer League. So I was at the games watching them play, and it's like, I want to see him do well. Mm-hmm. But in my heart, it just doesn't feel right. You're right, not in that jersey.
You
So
should have put a mask on. Cheers.
I would watch till halftime, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's just physically paining me to watch, this guy in a purple and gold jersey.
Okay.
But I digress. Jonathan Isaac, I remember watching him play at Florida State with Raton-Mays and Malik Beasley. Mm-hmm. And to me, Raton-Mays was the best player on that team. Or he looked like the most NBA ready. Mm-hmm. I saw a little bit of Malik Beasley, but I didn't quite think that he was an NBA player, or at that point. But I remember him playing with Kobe Simmons.
Right, exactly.
But once he got to the league, I'm like, okay, I can see why he was so highly touted. But everyone was saying at the time, no, this kid Isaac, he's the guy. But I didn't quite see it there. And then with him being injured so much last season, I'm like, I still don't know, how well. Kind of like Kevin Knox. Like, I don't know how well he dribbles for his height. I know he can, knock down certain shots, but being that size and being a perimeter player, you've got to be able to handle the ball, well enough. You don't have to be Kyrie Irving handles, but like a Kawhi. Like, you got to be able to handle the ball enough to get to your spots. And that's really what he showed in Summer League. You could, like I said, he was one of those guys you could tell has a year under his belt, whether he played or not, just being in that NBA culture. You could tell, like, okay, he knew where to get his spots. The shots he took were the shots he wanted. No one put him in a position where he wasn't uncomfortable. And like I said, him alongside with Bamba, like, it just looks like, okay, Orlando has something that they can improve upon.
Yeah, they can hold
forward.
hands and just stretch their arms across the court.
Right.
The limited amount of time I saw Isaac, I mean, he looked like he was definitely focusing on, a solid mid-range pull-up, kind of like a KG.
Yeah.
Some of those later years, really just the face-up game seemed pretty strong, and obviously he just towers over guys. I'm looking for Orlando to have a good season. They have some good players, kind of screaming for the next few years for them down the line. Isaac will, I think he may be their second best player right now.
It's up there. I'll take him over Evan Fournier, but that's another.
Hey, we'll see. I hope he continues to get better, man. Him and Bamba. I saw a few things out of Bamba occasionally that I didn't expect.
Offensively, he looked a lot better than he did at Texas. So
some footwork in the mix.
Yeah. It's Curry fives. Clearly.
That'll do it to you, man. You just slipping things on.
One thing that concerns me is, Bamba, Isaac, and Gordon are all on the court at the same time. So, but clearly Bamba's the center. I don't know how Isaac and Gordon fit together, especially, like I said, not having a point guard, and Fournier's putting up shots. So what happens? But it's the Eastern Conference, so
right,
anything's possible.
Hey, I know Aaron Gordon wants to be what Blake Griffin became in those later years. He wants some crossovers and some threes in the mix.
He really improved his 3-point shot this season, though. So I will.
Hey, he could have got paid as well. I know some teams were looking at him, even in LA as a part of the trade.
That as well.
So, Orlando has some pieces moving forward that I think are pretty solid.
I think so too. We hope they get on track. We need as many decent to playoff competing Eastern Conference teams as possible.
Oh my God, yeah. Hey, maybe these should be some cheap Atlanta tickets.
Right.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Bulls Magic's Eastern Conference Finals 2024. Book it.
Hey, you're calling it. I'll sign up for that one.
All right. So some guys that were not too impressive to me. Colin Sexton was off. No, I'm just kidding.
That'll be a common theme, I think, of the show. Moving
Terrible.
forward.
Looked like awful. But seriously, Alonzo Trier, which it's how the mighty have
this
fallen.
Is going into his third year, correct?
This is he declared for the draft this year. So this is his first, and went undrafted, and got signed to the Knicks.
I am tripping right now.
So
Trier out of Arizona.
Yes.
Oh, really?
So remember, he was a highly touted recruit.
Why? I just mixed him up with what's his name out of Kentucky. I don't know why. I was just
Briscoe?
talking shit about him. Yeah, just a minute
we
ago.
don't want to talk about Briscoe.
Trier out of Arizona.
Yeah. So he was a highly touted recruit coming out. Didn't have a great freshman year, but would have been projected to be a first round pick, I believe. Then his second season, there were some allegations, with him. So I think he missed a couple games. Even with that, though, he didn't have particularly the greatest season, and then so much focus was on Ayton that he didn't really show. And then also Raul Alkins, who athletic guy who was making highlights. So Trier just didn't get the buzz.
Fell to the wayside.
He felt, but apparently he felt like he was the guy. So he still came out this year, went undrafted, signed to the summer league roster for the Knicks, and stunk up the joint. So,
hey, you put your ego behind you, man. But again, to your point, he maybe would have even lost more of a role at Arizona this year. Because Alkins is coming back.
no, Alkins declared. He was on
Really?
the Summer League roster for the Toronto Raptors.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
man.
Trier could have attempted to be that guy because they had Sharif O'Neal and then he decommitted. So, you don't know, but with those guys, you never know who's in their ear telling them, what nonsense.
Yeah.
Maybe
What
LeVar Ball
was
called
his,
him.
what was causing him some trouble?
He just looks like one of those guys offensively who has a plan. And regardless of how the defense plays him, he's going to try to execute that plan.
Okay.
Like, I don't care what side you're on, I'm going to do a spin move
Yeah.
into a step back. So
Okay.
if you're there or not, the shot's going up. And
Okay.
it didn't look like he's not reading the defense. He's just premeditated on his moves. And with that, also in addition to that, he's just not a knockdown shooter.
Right.
So
yeah. And he doesn't have great size. I mean, it's hard for him to probably finish over some bigger players and even shoot over them.
Yeah.
Well, hey, with New York, I think there's some room for guys to try to sneak into a rotation.
Definitely,
Get Tina there. We'll keep an eye on him just in case.
If he makes the roster, which we don't wish bad on anyone. So hopefully he can turn that corner. There's definitely opportunities. There's 30 teams in the league, 15 spots per team, and now you've got the two-way contract. So teams are willing to take a chance or a flyer on guys with that had potential but haven't quite shown it or reached it yet. So we'll see what happens with him. Another guy I was disappointed with, Zaire Smith, and maybe his fault, maybe it's not his fault, but
hey, I'm just counting on him to catch a body this season. I know, Phoenix has got a few guys that I just feel like they have some that hidden potential.
Well, remember he's on Philly. They traded.
They did go to
Bridges
Philly, yes.
because, like I said in the prior episode, Philly's gonna regret that.
Yeah.
I think maybe they thought they could get LeBron, so they made that deal. But even with that, I think they only ended up saving to us normal people, $500,000 is a boatload of money. But in the NBA scheme, to lose a guy like Mikal Bridges, who could be very talented, and you can have him for a minimum of 3 years at $1 million a year it's something I think they're really gonna regret. And I mean, I think part of it was the expectation, because had Zaire Smith not been, quote unquote, the 10th pick in the draft, which is what you're slotting him with the trade, then you figure, okay, well, he's just a guy filling it out. But being in the lottery with those expectations, wearing those Pumas, it just made it look even worse to me.
And I don't know, I didn't follow him a lot at Boise State. Texas Tech, I'm sorry. I'm all over it. It's starting to get a little late over here. But yeah, I mean, we saw he's an athletic guy. He can do a few things off the dribble. Kind of reminds me of, I think we just talked about Justin Anderson a while coming over from, is it Dallas he's now with?
From Philly to Atlanta.
If he can just focus on what he's good at right now and then continue to build upon his game, Philly, they'll throw you up. They'll throw you out there. Now, him compared to Bridges, I still see that as a loss, like you said, on the Philly side. But who knows, man? We'll see how he comes along. I know Summer League. Yes, he wasn't
too impressive. Well, one thing we do know about this season coming up is that Fultz and Ben Simmons won't be taking jump shots. So like you said, the lobs are going to be there.
Yeah.
They're going to be there. Yeah. So, I mean, we fully expect him to dunk on somebody.
Yeah,
but as far as the rest of the game.
Fingers crossed.
And there's hope for him. So one of the things that I had read and saw in an interview was that he actually didn't start shooting, outside of the paint until this season. Because in high school, him and his brother were the tallest people on the court, so they were just, and it's high school, so, if you're over 6'4", you're a big guy. So they were just in the paint pretty much dunking everything. So he said that he didn't really start shooting until this past season at Texas Tech, which he wasn't, the sample size was fairly small, but he shot well enough to say, okay, you have to honor this shot. So that's something you can look forward to. And then, you got J.J. Redick there, so the same thing with Fultz. Like, you should be mentoring, getting as many tips as you can from this guy. So, there's positive things to look forward to, but in the present right now, it was a little, disappointing.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, maybe it'll take the pressure off of him. You won't have to really play a heavy point guard role. If he can just focus on perhaps becoming a solid knockdown shooter, or doing a few other things well, then he should find some space there.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope the best for him too. But as far as Summer League, just wasn't too impressive to me. And those Pumas are awful. Anyways, another guy, and I hate to put him on his list, but because he played, he did. Dennis Smith Jr. Everybody wanted to see Luka, really. He
was feeling probably just, a little bit salty.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
That's really what he looked like. Mark Cuban, why do you have me playing in Summer League?
Maybe they were trying out the combination of them on the floor at the same time.
Luka didn't play because he had just finished up his EuroLeague a week prior. So they were like, hey, he was there, but he didn't play.
Okay.
So they kind of just left Dennis Smith out there, by himself with Dorian Finney-Smith and Costa Antetokounmpo. So
not much to play for, really.
Yeah. So I mean, he had his typical athletic layups. He came out very strong at the beginning of the game, but then next thing you know, they're down 15, and you could just see it in his body language and demeanor. Like, why am I here?
Yeah, this is just another extended practice for whatever reason.
I was one of the best rookies. You don't see Donovan Mitchell out here. You don't see Lonzo Ball out here. Like, why? Why am I here? So I'm not putting it too much against him, but just for the fact that he was out there, I have to throw him on that list. Another guy, even though we kind of had him on the somewhat impressive list, Trae Young.
Yeah, Trae had a really slow start. I think he finally came along in those, few of those games where he dropped some decent numbers, but we alluded to it before. He's gonna just be one of those guys who has to find a rhythm and a new way of approaching the game. But yeah, his shooting in that first game was horrendous.
Yeah. It looked like the first couple games he was still in that Oklahoma mode. So he was feeling like, okay, like these 30-footers, step backs and all this, I've got to do that. And then as the Summer League went on, he realized, okay, guys like John Collins and Tyler Dorsey can score, so I don't have to play as hard. Accumulating to, I think, his last game or second to last game, he went 7 for 10 from three. So, he showed he has the ability. But like you said, the first couple games, a lot of hair balls, ill-advised turnovers,
And that comes with understanding, like you said, your teammates, the flow. He didn't, to me, he seemed to keep up with the pace well enough. He's, like you said, he's a crafty player, quick. His shot taking, which is, his just shot decision making, will definitely change. He's not going to be pulling those in my mind, in a regular season game. The coaches probably gave him the green light to see what he could do. Yeah. But he's not going to be pulling 40-footers. But yeah, I wasn't, for a guy of his, aptitude, I'm giving him some time to get it together.
Yeah, I think he'll come along, and hopefully so, because we live in Atlanta, so we need to watch something.
Yeah. No, he's a little more exciting than Dennis.
That's for sure.
So we'll take it for now.
For sure. Just you watching the games, were there any like sleepers or just guys that that stood out to you?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I talked about Jaren Jackson. Mid-season, just being that guy that could have gone number one. I think he cemented his pick.
Yes, definitely.
With what he was doing, especially in that first game. I think he was 7 for 10 from three or something crazy.
He shot better than Trae Young.
Right. So he's a nice, and it's nice to see him, stick to what I expected. And then, Wendell Carter, positive surprise. Nobody that, really blew me out of the water, but he, again, being a Chicago Bulls fan, he's given me some
hope for sure.
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker, the fourth, they said is the best Lonnie Walker of them all.
That's what I hear.
He was really impressive to me. I think the major key with him will be what kind of leeway does Popovich give him? Because to me, honestly, I think he can be this year's Donovan Mitchell. Offensively, he just looks like he has that confidence, knows where to get to his spots and the athleticism. So it's more of a when than if with the Spurs.
Do you think he could play the one?
I don't think so.
No.
And I wouldn't want him playing the one because DeJounte Murray, has kind of molded himself into that spot, and he doesn't shoot too well.
Yeah, you don't want to. You're going to put yourself at liability. You got to have somebody on the floor that could hit.
And then that would kind of put him in, like I was saying earlier about, trying to put guys like Devin Booker and all of them at point guard. I think it's
unnecessary.
And I think the Spurs are smart enough to know not to, try that. You still got Patty Mills, so, you want to put your players in the best situations possible, and him scoring in that role, I think, will do well.
Yeah, I have big hopes for Spurs to have a pretty quick turnaround. I don't see them falling too far from grace, and with the guys like Murray coming along, Tony Parker's out the doors, and he's kind of been given the keys to take them. Kyle Anderson is gone, if I'm not mistaken.
To the Grizzlies. So, like I said, we need DeRozan at the 3. Hey, I'm gonna say it right. DeRozan is gonna make an All-NBA team this year.
Wow.
I'm gonna put that on this.
Hey, this could be exactly what he needed to, in my mind, maybe keep his career where it's at before people start to question whether or not he's a winner.
Yeah.
If he can really just stay at the top level, then he'll be able to transform his game a little bit.
For sure. I think it'll happen. And the last guy I want to give a shout out to that had a great summer league, Devin Robinson, whose new nickname is going to be Ro. RHO, which stands for right-handed Oubre, because they are the same person. Like,
really,
that Spider-Man meme where they've got them pointing at each other.
Yeah,
it's the same with that. That's him and Kelly Oubre in the locker room. Because
we're gonna have to get that going viral now.
Clearly, like, we just had so much fun watching him play because we were like, he looks like Kelly Oubre. I think he's a little more athletic.
Yeah,
he's right-handed, but he was really impressive though. Like,
smooth game,
very athletic. And just like John Collins, going into it, it looked like to me like he was one of those guys, okay, he's going to run, get blocks, get rebounds, but offensively it's not quite there. In Summer League, like, he was hitting threes, mid-ranges, like, driving, slashing to the basket. Like, he just showed a fuller offensive game than I expected. So it was just very, and then he looks like Oubre. So it was just very exciting to watch him play, to see that, okay, you have this potential that I haven't seen.
Yeah. So
we need to see what you do with it this year now that you've displayed it.
Yeah. And that's where the importance of coming in, to Summer League ready is, that just puts you that much ahead, because working into a rotation throughout the year is so much more difficult to put your skills out there. So it's good to see a player like him kind of emerging, a little bit late.
And Washington is going to be...
It's going to be a little weird to watch
a reality show.
Man. Yeah, it's going to be really weird. John Wall, how many years does he have left before he's done? Like, he's over it. I feel him like getting to a Rondo stage in his career, which is like, God, this is not what I expected. Like, maybe I should just start looking to other teams. Yeah,
I could see them trading him and starting to try to build around Bill in the future, because you're kind of in a situation that the Raptors are just in with Lowry and DeRozan. Like, you've got these two guys, your focal points, but they've only gotten you so far, and it's been X amount of years, so how much longer do we want to tread water or go for the gusto.
Yeah.
And like we said, with LeBron being out of the East now is the time for all these other teams that were right in that mid-range to, either you rebuild or you go for it.
You go for it all the way.
So
yeah.
I think John Wall in Washington could be one of those cases.
Hey, man. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for Wall. He's such a talented player. I would hate to see his career hit a decline at this point before he's able to see any real success. Beal, I still, they paid him. He's a great player, but he's, again, not one of those guys that is going to lead Washington to the promised land.
Yeah.
It's not looking too good in Washington.
We'll see, though. You got Dwight Howard now, so...
Apparently he hates hanging out with other NBA players, is what I saw.
Did not click on that video, but I'm aware of it. So
yeah.
I'm not... Dwight's a whole another anomaly.
And it's so strange because... To me, he looked like he was thriving in Charlotte.
Yeah, it was a good system for him.
Yeah, so, hey, maybe he just wants another opportunity to show he's that guy.
Do you know? Was it a 1-year contract?
I think he took the minimum.
So we'll I don't know. They're good. It's a lot of interesting things, which is going to be another phrase for this this season because a lot's going on. So.
Yeah, much more to come.
For sure. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you all. I think I just said that. But
well, until next time.
Until next
time.
This
is the Triple O Show.
Oh, yes.
So we'll talk to you later.
Peace.